here we are. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom. What's going on today, Tom? How are you?
I'm doing good this morning, man. How are you? How are you guys doing? How are you doing? I should say. It's
How,
just you so far. There's no you guys.
well,
I
how do you know? Maybe people are just tuning in on YouTube or someplace else we are at.
that's true. That's true. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. All right, fine. I take it back. I take it
All
back. I
right.
stand
Not the
corrected.
smartest guys in the room. We are here today. We're going to talk brand building, the importance of brand building, why it matters. Should you build a brand? Consistency. Brands need to be consistent. For instance, we started at 9:31 today, Tom. We're supposed to start at 9:30. That's not consistent, but we showed up on Wednesday. Hey, Marcella, John Jay, come on up. Nice to see you today and everybody else. But go on, Tom.
We started the countdown when the clock said 9:30, and we went live. We were live in the 9:30 minute. So I would say we fulfilled the promise of being live, because we were live. We're live when the countdown's happening. We're just not talking yet.
Okay. So the countdown's happening. So we're actually live. I got it. So it is nice. It is nice to see you today. What's on my mind? First of all, we're going to talk brand building, but I have to say, and anybody that wants to jump in, I have a son who's a senior in high school right now, thinking about going to college or what he's going to do in the next parts of his life. And why the hell is college so expensive? Jesus. I mean, I'm getting numbers that are like double what it was when I went, at least. I mean, I'm stressed out. So if I'm not at my best today, Tom, it's because I'm thinking, like, how do you put this on a kid? Even if you can help them out a little, you're still putting a lot on them. So it's stressful as a parent.
Yeah, I mean, college tuition has far outpaced inflation, right? The rise in college tuition has far outpaced inflation. If you look at, yeah, I mean, same thing. Like, I think my college is I think it's more than 2.5 times per year. The tuition, room and board, is more than 2.5 times per year. It was like 20 years ago, when I was there. So, like, and granted, 20 plus years is a long time, right? I'm not trying to say like, oh, it feels like yesterday sometimes, right? And I like to think that I'm younger than I am, maybe. And I act like I'm younger than I am, maybe. Sometimes I'm still a little bit of a 25-year-old in my head. But yeah, I mean, it's far outpaced inflation. We hear about this all the time. And then, like, people who would never get a loan in any other circumstance, right? 18-year-old kids are going away to college and have the ability to commit themselves, right, to hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, with no promise of ever really being able to repay that debt, expeditiously, right? Like, maybe in 40 years, and the interest rates are crazy on college loans. It's very, and I genuinely think that it's a predatory loan market that has really driven up the cost of tuition, right? Because ultimately the schools know they can get paid, right? They know they can charge higher tuition because they know that people will take out loans to pay for it. So where's the incentive to keep tuition low and as affordable as possible, right? If they know they're going to get paid and they can kick the can down the road to somebody else to pay for it over time, right, at high interest rates, why not? I mean, I see stories all the time of people posting that they've never missed a payment on their college loans, and they owe as much, if not more, after several years of payments than they did when they graduated, right? That they've basically been making payments just to maintain the interest, right? That they're not even actually paying down the principal on their payments, and that they can't really afford to pay more. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you, man. It's not a good it's not a good situation, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of people, and I think something needs to be done about it. But what do I know? I'm just some guy who makes videos.
Well, 18 years from now, you will be dealing with the same thing. Tom has a little baby coming soon. So real soon, Tom, you've messed around a lot now, and now it's getting real. Do you feel like Holy shit! It's kind of your daughter, son. Do you know what it is? A daughter, right?
Daughter, yeah.
Okay. And you probably haven't you probably won't. This is how Tom is. You won't share a name with the group, will you?
I mean, I sure, because we sent out an email to folks to let people know what her name. So we've said it publicly. So it's not a secret. I haven't said it. I haven't broadcast on the internet. Funny story. We've actually haven't even posted like a baby announcement online because we're like slow about stuff like that, and we're not, neither one of us, neither Becky nor I are very big on the sort of like traditions of like, we didn't like, there's no baby shower. Becky doesn't want a baby shower, right? Like there's no gender reveal, right? Like, although I do find it really amusing when guys, do like the party popper things that shoot the colored confetti out. And they hold it backwards and shoot themselves in the crotch with it. That's always really funny. I would almost do that just for the laugh, but yeah, so we haven't even made a public post about it yet, but sure, why not? On Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, while my wife is at work and she can't tell me no. Yeah, so we're welcoming a baby to the family on July 8th is the due date. I know that's not how things go necessarily, but July 8th, and we're gonna name her Isla. Unless somebody comes up with a better name. But that's the plan. The plan is to name her Isla.
Now that's what we're talking about, Tom. Thank you. Now we're getting somewhere. Isla, baby Isla. Julie gives you a heart. Okay. Julie, we'll go to Julie. What do you think about this, Tom? With Julie.
I love that name. That's beautiful. I love it. It's just an amazing name. So
all right, see,
good.
Tom is already getting soft. That's what happens when you have a baby girl. I think John Jay has a daughter or daughters. I'm thinking that. I think I've seen the pictures, John Jay. Every once in a while, you get soft and you share a picture. So, all right, now we're getting into this. We're going to talk brand building today. Not the smartest guys in the room. Talking brand building, consistency, showing up, the value of brand. So, me and Tom have babbled for a little bit here. So, John Jay, we're going to just start with you. Brand building. Does it matter? Do you look to a brand? So jump in, man.
Well, for my business, branding alone is not enough. I've got to have a response to be successful. And there's a difference. I don't focus totally on direct response. I do a combination too. But let me put it this way. Coca-Cola and Burger King, McDonald's, they do branding campaigns. They do branding advertising so that when you get hungry or thirsty, you think of them, their products. We have other ones where it's like call now and the first 100 callers get this. That's the direct response type ad. So I try to focus on it too. Now, the one thing I will say is this, that yes, it does matter. And it's important, but to me, growth is more important than branding and brand awareness. And I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'll say this. You talked about college. The number one way to cut costs, and when I went to college for the longest semester and a quarter of my life, and I was a horrible student, I majored in drinking, had a minor in sociology, got a 4.0 in my major and DNF in my minor. That's why I dropped out. They didn't have all the scholarships they have now today. They didn't have the automatic loans, all that stuff that Tom talked about, the predatory loans. But the number one way to cut cost is to go to community college first for your first 2 years. Your 101s and 201s, they are the same. They're exactly the same. Might as well get those credits at community college for a lot less than to spend your junior and senior year when you have a better idea of where you want to go and cut your costs by a considerable amount. So I covered two things with one stone. For me, it's direct response. Because I'm not in the position where I can afford to do just branding campaigns and not have any reply whatsoever.
Okay, sweet. John, thank you for weighing in on the college too. I got us all sidetracked because I'm going through my son is about to make a decision, and shit, I just don't know what the right decision is. So thank you, John. And okay, now let's dig into this brand. So as you build a brand, is there a certain point where you need ROI, or is there a time frame where you can say, let's say, I have this thought, the longer that you don't have to ask for anything, the stronger your brand can be. Where, let's say, if I could give, add value, be out producing amazing content, and I'm giving, and I don't need a return. Or is that dumb? I like to just put it out there.
I don't think it's dumb. It depends on what you can afford. They use the term runway all the time, especially in Clubhouse. If you get the money where you can afford to brand, and don't care about results, great. But most of us, if we do that, we're going to go broke and out of business. So I got to get some response. And my response is just be a consumer of my content. And then some of those listen to my show. That's it. I generate revenue elsewhere. If I don't get those two, I'm out of business within a few months.
Okay, just so now I'm going back to you, John, because me and John can have conversations like this. And Tom, hold on, man. So, John, what about somebody like Amazon who builds this brand? We're going to deliver quick, lots of products. They didn't make money for 20 years. They were the biggest loser ever, but they built a brand around this quick delivery, any product you need, and then by building it so strong, buying up all these other things, then 20 years down the road, they're unstoppable. What's your take?
What I would say is they had the money. They had investors. They had an IPO. They had stock. They had all those things to create funds so they can afford to do that stuff. For independent people like me, we don't have access to unlimited funds. We go broke. We're broke, just like college. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. It doesn't matter how much you want it. So you got to look at what you can afford. If I spend, let's just say $1,000 a year as an average, and I get no response, that's $1,000 I'll never get back. And I don't have investors lined up to float me 10 times over, which they did. That's the big difference. I'd love to get a point where I don't care and I can just do branding campaigns and afford that. And that would be an issue, but I'm not there yet.
Okay, John, thank you, brother. This is a conversation I wanted to have, like a deep into brand. So, Tom, come on. What's your thoughts? From you, where do we start? Because it starts with, it's like day one, I'm going to build a brand and then go from there. So go on, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, John, and I agree with you. And I think, and I agree with, your response to the question that Dom asked about like Amazon, right? I mean, and Dom's 100% right. I mean, Amazon notoriously lost money for years and years and years. It got to the point where people were like, every time Jeff Bezos was interviewed, it was like, hey, are you ever going to make money? And he kept saying, yeah, we're going to make money. We're going to make money. Right. But like you said, John, they had the investors, they had the backing, right? They had the runway to be able to burn a lot of cash and I think really it was less of a brand building exercise as it was more of a scaling exercise. So I think a lot of their cash really got dumped into scaling. So they scaled first before they had the revenue to support the growth. Right? Knowing that once they had that economy of scale on their side, they were going to make money, right? That was the sort of numbers game I think that they were playing, was achieving that economy of scale where they knew other people weren't going to be able to compete, right? Because they had put so much time, effort, and energy and money into their infrastructure and their reach, right? And their ability to fulfill that quick delivery promise of virtually any product you could think of. But I would say this, I think even for like, folks like you or folks like me or folks like Dom, or a lot of people probably listening to this who are, entrepreneurs or maybe work for smaller businesses. I don't think it has to be a binary choice though, right? Like I would kind of push back on the framing a little bit that it doesn't have to be either brand building or revenue generation, right? That the two really can and should go hand in hand. Right? That you should make both a priority. And one is going to outpace the other a little bit here and there, but I think that they should be both at the top of the priority list, right? Because if you generate revenue, but you don't build the brand around that revenue to maintain and sustain growth and loyalty and notoriety, right? Then over time, those sales are going to dwindle off. That revenue is going to dwindle off. You're not going to be able to add to the cohort or grow your market share. And so you're not going to be able to sustain the business in the long term. So I really think they have to go both hand in hand. I totally, and I will freely admit this is like where I kind of mess up, and one of the reasons why I'm looking to bring on and interviewing folks right now for an independent sales position is because I 100% have prioritized brand building over revenue generation for myself and my business. I absolutely have made that mistake. I will own that. It's because of how my brain works and what kind of like makes more sense to me, right? Like my preference is for brand building. That's kind of the work that I love to do. And so I've over prioritized it. And I should have put more effort into revenue generation over time. And I'm trying to fix that mistake now. Luckily I'm in a position where I can, and it's not going to drive my me out of business, right? It's not going to ruin Talex Media, but it could for other people. So that's why I say I think those two things really need to go hand in hand. I would push back on and be reticent to make it a binary choice, right? Rather than doing one or the other, try to do both, right? That's my thought on it. What do you think, Dom?
I'm loving the conversation. This was Tom's idea today. Tom sent me an email. He says, "What about this today?" I'm all in. So I want to throw out to everybody in this room just strong brand. So think about like if your business has a strong brand, if you can create a strong brand, we'll say something like Nike or Nike, whichever one. What do you say, Nike or Nike? Which one is
I don't know that I can't think of hearing anybody ever say Nike.
Okay.
I've always heard it as Nike. I like, that's not a dig. I just don't think I've ever heard somebody say that, unless you want it to be a dig, in which case let's dig in. But no.
Okay.
Maybe it's a Pittsburgher thing.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Billy, is it Nike or Nike before I say it 50 times? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Tom on this one.
You say Nike.
Jules,
Okay.
I've never heard
So
Nike before. Like,
Julie, is it Nike or Nike? Go on.
Never heard Nike.
Okay, so Nike, John Jay.
Nike in Europe and it's Nike over here.
Okay, so Nike. So I don't like that at all. Okay, so Nike, they have this strong brand for athletes. Athletes wear brand. Athletes wear these shoes. Athletes win in these shoes. They produce consistent. You see the same swoosh for 1,000 years. Then they were able to say, we're going to go from shoes to apparel. Strong brand. They go to a shirt. They go to a hat. They go to these other things because strong brand delivers. It's cool. It's consistent. It's for athletes. It's for winners. It's for Michael Jordan. And they are able to scale. Now I'm going to make Tom mad here. I'm going to go with Tesla, Elon Musk. Elon Musk has created this brand of creativity, whatever his people. I'm not going down that path right now I don't want to go down this path on what we think about him. I want products that come out. So supposedly they come out with innovative products. So when they create a new innovative product, like a blowtorch, people stand in line to get this blowtorch because they know it'll be this innovative product because he has created a brand around innovation. So so I'm saying if you create strong brand, that it opens up these other possibilities for what John Jay said, revenue generation. So it's like they are one and the same in a lot of ways. Tom, go on. Please do not go down this philosophical path about your thoughts on Elon Musk.
Well, so it's not so much about Elon Musk. It really is kind of about what you're talking about and using. I mean, look, you used him as an example for brand. So like, shame on you for bringing it up, right? You should have picked a different example if you didn't want me to mention it at all. But like here's my take on it. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was listening to a podcast with an author, and I can't remember her name right now. I'll try to find it if I get a moment before we wrap up today. But she wrote a book on sort of the focused on the psychology of well, kind of like, I guess the psychology of cultish behavior, right, is sort of how, like, the sort of overall arching thing of the book. But anyway, in this interview on this podcast, one of the things that they started talking about was the halo effect. And they didn't use Elon Musk as an example of the halo effect, but I actually genuinely believe that the example you're talking about has more to do with the halo effect, right? And our sort of which is a cognitive bias, right? Has more to do with the halo effect than anything else, right? And what I mean by that is the halo effect, which I mentioned on here before, says that when people see us do one thing well, right, they will automatically assume that we do other things equally well, right? And that effect is transferable, right? So it's not necessarily just about the things you do, but it's the things you're associated with. It's for example, like, hang on a second, Julie.
No.
Hang on a second, Julie.
Oh, sorry. My dogs were fighting. I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like,
oh my God, I wasn't yelling at you.
No,
Oh,
okay. I was
geez.
like, hang on a second, we'll give you a chance. Anyway,
wow,
yeah.
I sounded really aggressive there.
It's all good.
Oh
It's all good. But yeah, so I think in the case of like the flamethrower that you're talking about that Elon Musk put out, I think really what it was people look at somebody like Elon Musk, right? And they figure, okay, he's had success, financial success, right? No question about that. He's had some success with brand building, right? And with scaling companies. I think that's actually what he's really good at, is scaling companies, right? That's actually where he's really, really smart, I think. But the problem comes from the fact that people just sort of make that cognitive leap, make that leap in judgment to say, okay, well, he's good at this, he's probably good at other stuff too. It's a bit of that Midas touch effect, right? So it's like, well, if he like, you know, a lot of people commonly think that he invented Tesla and started Tesla Motors, which he didn't. He did scale it though, but like, they're like, oh, well, look at Tesla. Tesla's successful, right? As the sort of breakthrough brand on the electric car market, right? Look at SpaceX, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And people go, oh, well, whatever this guy does, it's going to be good. So if he makes a flamethrower, it's going to be the best freaking flamethrower that money can buy. It's really not that exciting a piece of technology. It's genuinely not. Like, if you look it up, it's genuinely not a super exciting piece of technology. It's just that because it's associated with somebody that has success in other areas, people assume it's going to be groundbreaking and revolutionary and exceptional and et cetera. And it's not necessarily. So I think that's really more like a result of the halo effect, which you can use, you know, very much to your advantage. If you've built a good brand image, you can use to launch other product lines, like you were talking about with Nike and launching their apparel lines, right? Like, after establishing a really strong brand on shoes, they managed to make a really strong presence, or create a really strong presence in apparel, because they already had that sort of shine and that reputation, that brand reputation, right? So they were able to transfer that, using that cognitive bias, the halo effect, transfer that over to their apparel lines. So that's, I don't know. That's my like wonky, nerdy, used to be a psychology major take on that.
You're good, man. As you're talking, I'm thinking about every famous person that gets into apparel, then they get into vodka and tequilas. Well, okay, The Rock. I like The Rock. I like The Rock's brand. I'm gonna check out the movies. I'm gonna buy. I got 2 bottles of George Clooney's Casamigos, or whatever it is. Is that Casamigos? I think I got 2 different ones.
Yeah, I don't remember which one's Casamigos and one's Terramana. I don't. One's George Clooney, one's The Rock. I don't know which
I
one.
I ran upstairs for show and tell. I should have brought a Cosme. And I don't think it's so great, but it is what it is. All right, Tom, we will continue. We got to get to Julie. Any of our LinkedIn friends, we are trying to up our, we're trying to get out to as many people as we can, get these conversations out to as many people, add value to as many lives as we can. So we appreciate everybody stopping in, whether it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, arguing with us, adding value, making us think about things that we didn't think about. So whether it's, I see my cousin Cindy commented, it is Nike. Well, thanks, Cindy, who lives down the road from me. She could have agreed with me instead of not throwing me under the bus. But anyway, so I Tom, you agree? Anybody I missed when we're
yeah,
talking
no.
about
And I wanted to say, I mean, number one, second what Dom's saying, I want to say thanks to everybody who's here, who's watching, whether you're here with us on Clubhouse and actively participating, in the conversation, hanging out with us there, or you're on social media on one of the other platforms. Specifically, LinkedIn is where we're really trying to grow our audience here. So if you're on LinkedIn, and watching and participating, really appreciate you. Feel free to, if you've got a question, if you want to throw something in the comments, feel free to throw it in there. We'll do our best to work it into the conversation. And I just wanted specifically to say thanks to my friend Tara. She was commenting on Facebook and said congratulations to Becky and I, and I just wanted to say thanks for that. So because she's, just to rewind it back to the conversation we started at, where Dom was quizzing me about the baby coming in a couple of months. So yeah. So anyway, that's all I got for that. Thanks to everybody, and please share it with your friends. If you find value here, if you enjoy the conversation and want to participate, please share it with people like and trust that you want to bring into this community. We'd love to see it grow and reach more people, help more people, right? Like that's why we started this, and bring some brilliant people in. We don't want to be the smartest guys in the room. That's the whole idea. We want to bring in brilliant people to provide value for everyone. So bring in the smartest people Any big nerds, dorks, people who got made fun of in high school, invite them.
Yes, that's what we like. Well said. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. We're coming to Julie. Julie's going to tell us about Media Casters, why she branded it the way she did. I see here, going back to a Facebook comment from my cousin Cindy. She says, my dad, who is 82 and is still in the landscape business, I live in the town of Greensburg. And Cindy says, Uncle Rich knew what he was doing. Uncle Richard, Greensburg Landscape Company and Nursery. That is the name of my dad's business. He is in Greensburg, and he branded it, and all the trucks have the courthouse that is in the middle of the city on them. It's gold, and it's Greensburg Landscape for 55 years. So that is how he branded it. Cousin Cindy, you are probably right, because none of us in this room, I will give my dad credit, none of us in this room have been in business for 55 years. Jimmy just popped in the room. My friend Jimmy Ajay, somebody just said, my cousin said that my dad was good at branding because he branded as Greensburg Landscape Company. 55 years in business, probably says he did all right. So not the smartest guys in the room. Julie Loken, a master of branding because she has Media Casters everywhere. What is Media Casters, Julie? Why brand it as Media Casters? That's 3 questions, and I'm asking you 3 questions, so deal with it. So, and why should people
do I have
brand
to yell
things?
again? Do I have to yell again?
You did yell. Go on.
Oh my God, I'm so good. My dogs are fighting like crazy. So Media Casters is because we cast media, and we want to put you in front of everybody else, and you have to do it in some fashion or form in the media, whether it's through written articles, blogging, getting you on stages, getting you in front of podcasters, radio shows, TV shows, writing books, getting quoted. You just need to have the media storm behind you. So that's why we call ourselves media casters. We cast media. But your dad's landscape business, perfect. That is the most perfect name, Greensburg Landscaping. People Google it all the time. So Google is super important. If you think about the biggest brands, and I like what Tom had to say, without a brand, you have no sales. Without sales, you don't have a brand. So they're inextricably linked. Let's think about the biggest brands right now. And what are they? And I'll ask everybody, I guess, what do the biggest brands all have in common? Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Walmart, Samsung, Disney. What do all these top brands have in common? And I'm not including Nike in it either, because I've never heard such a thing, Nike. But what do they all have in common?
Venture capitalist money.
True.
There you go, Billy. What else? Come on. Anybody else?
From
Go
the
on.
onset, seriously, what do all these big boys have in common?
Ravenous supporters.
Well, from day one, like what is the thing that they all did? You recognize them without even having, like when I say Apple, doesn't the logo come into your brain right away? Or Amazon? There's no answer. I'm just asking. And venture capitalists is right. A lot of money is right too.
Okay. Oh, I was confused. I thought you had something specific in mind. I thought there was a lesson you were leading us to there. Julie.
Oh, I could do a lesson, but we learn our most valuable lessons by thinking with our own brains, right? Are you guys laughing at me now?
Yeah. No. Sure. I mean, like, absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm 100% a big proponent of encouraging people to think for themselves. Absolutely.
Tom, your friend Tara says they are all one name brands.
That's true. Look at Tara. Come on, Tara. We need more.
Okay, but is there truly a link? So okay, go on, Julie.
Well, I mean, I'll just answer my own question. It's the simplicity, and there's that visual recognition, and also a specific position in the marketplace. That would be my answer, but I could be wrong.
Appreciate it, Julie. Thank you.
Tom, go on.
Yeah, no, and I mean, look, there's a lot of things that I think big companies like that have in common. I mean, one of the things when it comes to growth, right, over time and the ability to become a big brand, it's almost universally, as Billy mentioned, I think it was Billy that said it, taking on venture capital funding or taking on outside investment to really, really help scale. So, I mean, Billy, you're somebody who has has a brand of your own in the content that you create, but then also you interact obviously, with a big brand, like Amazon. What are your thoughts on sort of, revenue generation, brand building, how they work together? If they work in opposition, where do you stand on this idea that we're talking about today?
Man, I'm probably one of those people where anytime that I'm starting a project or a business or whatever, I got to figure out, like, is this going to make money? Like, I don't spend a lot of time branding. I mean, unless it like really calls for it, but I don't spend a lot of time branding and building websites and doing landing pages and all this stuff. I do one thing. I go to find a customer and like find a need and solve a problem, and then figure out how many people have that problem and how many times I can solve it and how many times I can get paid to solve it. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me is like, I do believe in branding. I mean, I've branded my company, but it's taken, that's not been priority at all. I've ran a business for 2 years, leveraging a bigger brand, leveraging access to Amazon and the influencer program to work with companies to create content. But just now, like this year, like in the last 3 weeks, have I really started to brand my business and, change messaging and build websites and all that, because the market that I'm about to go after, which is the US market. So I've been working with I've been working in the Chinese market for 2 years, not really don't care. Okay, they don't care. Like, they reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, like send me a letter in the mail. They don't care. US companies, they want to see that. We expect that, right? So that's like a part of what we're doing. Sorry, I said right. That annoys me. I just said that. But anyway, that's what we expect, and that's what U.S. brands expect. And the bigger we look, and the easier we flow, and the funnels and the channels and the things that make life easy and less friction is what we're after. And so, we just now started to do that because we want to go after a different market, and have partnered with a referral partner in the U.S. that deals with U.S. clients to funnel them through our website. So I think it's one of those things where, I mean, if I'm like, I'm going to go after the cash first, I'm going to solidify the idea, and then I'm going to go after, making it legit, if you will. So I think that's where I stand. I mean, I get it. There, and there's more stuff that like my business doesn't take a lot of funding to operate. So therefore I'm not, now I have a vision that I could go and say, okay, venture capitalist person or investor, like let me show you what's possible, and let's go do this thing and take a risk and see what happens. I think we all could do that. I think we all dream big, but then that's a business in itself. And I know this from a local entrepreneur. It's connected to the college, which cracks me up, because I go to these, like, not networking meetings, but they're just kind of like, hey, this is about my business. And so business people from all around town. Well, I heard one guy say, well, you don't own a business and you're not an entrepreneur if you don't know how to raise capital. And I'm like, I don't know how true that is, dude, because I've built every business from the ground up. I've worked it. They've all been successful to some degree. And I would argue that I'm more of an entrepreneur than that dude is, because I don't just put ideas on paper and go get people's money, which I know there's probably a lot more in it than that. So if somebody does that, I don't want to, like, poo poo it, but I'm like, at the same time, dude, I'm built, and well, Shark Tank does that too, right? So you go on Shark Tank, it's like people go on there all day, like, oh, I got this great idea, and this is a $50 billion a year industry, and if I can just get 1% of the market, and then they just kick them off. They're like, get out of here, idiot! Like, go build a bar from the ground up, like Mark Cuban did, and then let's talk about your grind, your hustle, and your ability to find a market and serve a market. So, I don't know. I'm always like, if it can't make $1, then I'm not going to spend $1 on it. And all this branding stuff takes time, money, and energy. So I'll close with those thoughts.
Billy, thanks, brother. Appreciate that. And it's interesting you bring up really dig into the venture cap money and stuff like that, because I would argue that is a different business model. Still, like, you can go one road, you can bootstrap. But to Julie's question earlier, what do all these businesses have in common? While they were they were a general idea, they were consistent, they were on message. There was a brand that was so clear. Nike makes tennis shoes. Google helps you find shit on the internet quick. This company makes electronic cars. This company helps deliver stuff fast. Very simple, investable ideas. So back to our conversation of brand, if you want to grow, is your company that clear on what it does? Is it so basic that here's what we do? And so let's say me, Motivation Champs, we share inspiration, positivity, smiles. Okay, how do we do that? We do that through publishing books. We do that through video content, and we are trying to grow into other spaces where we can share inspirational content. Could that be newsletters? Could that be screenplays? Could that be productions? Could it be all those things? But at our root, every piece of everything you see from Motivation Champs will be inspirational, will be motivational. So when we talk about brand building, there are times over the last 10, 15 years where I've taken less money or no money on jobs that I wanted to be a part of. Well, maybe that's dumb. Maybe that's dumb. I like to just say dumb, and I like the way that sounds. Maybe it's dumb, but for where I'm trying to go, there's a reason that I do it. It was to scale, or like I had a poetry book one time. I had never done poetry book, but I wanted that under the label. So I might the arrangement might be different. There are times where I finance books, which traditional as can be, because maybe I need that in my repertoire. There are times where I might finance a project where we go shoot some video or something like that, because as I try to move in towards that aspect of sharing inspiration, maybe I need to be there as well. So that's how I consider the brand is like that lighthouse that is. And so here I'm just going to finish this thought with you, Billy, that the lighthouse is always there. Whether I'm there or not, the lighthouse is there. It's on the edge. It has its light going 24/7. So I don't have to be the one all the time, or Amazon or Nike or somebody building a strong brand. They don't have to be the one out there yelling from the rooftops. The brand does it for them. The brand puts out this kind of content. People know it's consistent. They don't have to, the owner doesn't have to be the one doing it. I think that's what a brand can do. So when it gets to scaling and truly scaling, you take the onus off of you and you put it on this this other thing. So that's where I go. Tom, on to you, and then we got Jason. Go on, my friend. Or unless we got some LinkedIn comments next week, I will do better. I'm going to invite all kinds of people on LinkedIn. Figure that out. Go on.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dom. I mean, I think, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I think I still default to, I think brand is really important. If you're trying to build, a business that's centered around a unique product or service, right? If you're looking for a product or service that's been developed by somebody else and then a market to sell that to, if your company is the sort of sales vehicle, it's a very different animal, right? Like, you're actually leveraging their brand, right? Or the reputation of their product, their brand reputation through their product to sell it to your market. So like, your company's functioning as like a sales vehicle in that case. And I kind of feel like that's what Billy is talking about, is a sales company, right? And that's a different kind of company. And I think at the end of the day, you are leveraging brand. It's just not your brand, right? Like, you're leveraging the brand of the products that you sell. Billy doesn't like that idea. He's giving me a thumbs down. He disagrees. But that's what it sounded like to me. So maybe I'm not hearing it right, but that's what it sounded like to me, is that you're, like, talking about a sales vehicle, right? And if you're a sales vehicle is a very different animal than a brand that has its own in-house developed products or services. So I was saying that as a way of agreeing with you, Billy, that I think brand plays less of a role in that instance. But if I got it wrong, I mean, feel free to correct me. If I misunderstood what you were trying to say.
Well, no, I mean, I think in my model, well, first of all, we're not just like a sales avenue. Like, we're not selling product, right? We're like creating content about product, which helps in the sales process, which is more of a marketing, product, that it's a scalable thing in-house for us. But I just think it's the part of the process of the evolution of a business. It's like, what makes the most sense for you? If I'm a graphic designer, obviously I better have a badass brand if I'm trying to sell brand. If I'm trying to sell branding packages and I look like an idiot, then I'm probably not going to do very well. I mean, that's how I buy stuff. Like, if I get a lawn care guy that has big lawn care trucks in our neighborhood, but his yard looks like crap. And I'm like, I mean, I get it. You're busy. You don't want to do it. But if you're going to park the company truck there with a big sign on it with all your branding, you probably should have a nice yard. And so I don't know. I think, but I agree with you guys. I think it's building it simultaneously at the same time, but it takes money, and it takes the ability to put fuel to the fire to be able to hire those things out. Like, I'm sure, Amazon, I'm sure Bezos we've all seen that picture. It's a famous picture of him in his office, probably very much like all of our offices, just a big cluttered pile of crap. And he's just working. So he was the guy creating the logo, creating the website, creating the funnels, creating the, books, like whatever it was, like he was the guy creating all those things. And I think it really just goes to say, like, what do you want that? Because people who've never done it and they've never built something, that they don't understand that. And even me, at a very small scale, I notice a big difference from having a business that generates 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, $300,000 a year. There's different pain points in all those processes. So to think of a billionaire and what they do, they have to have a team just to manage all their finances and all their accounts, probably an entire team of people. I manage all my finances by myself, or me and my CPA or whatever. It's like, it's very scaled back and very small. So I don't I don't think you have to have all the things. And this is what I think keeps a lot of people from trying anything is like, well, you got to go have your business license. You got to have an LLC. You got to have a website. You got to have branding. You got to have this. You got to have the sign on your company car. And they haven't sold a product. They haven't sold a service. They haven't made $1. And I'm like, why? Like, why have all that crap? You don't need it. Go word of mouth. It's still the strongest marketing ever. And tell people what you do. I just closed a deal this past week for a huge opportunity with one of the largest Amazon seller or Amazon agencies in the United States. That wasn't because of my branding. That wasn't because of my website. That was from a guy who I sold a sponsorship deal for a podcast 7 years ago. That was a relationship, a handshake. I used to go in this guy's office, and he just happened to switch jobs, found what I was doing on LinkedIn, saw a live stream video, and that was it. It wasn't branded. It wasn't a show. It was just me goofing off online, like talking about Amazon.
Hey, Billy, I'm gonna challenge you on that though, because that was your relationship was built on Billy's personal brand. Billy being a hell of a good dude, he delivered on what he said, and then kept that relationship going. So it is, in a sense, I hear you, it's relationship, but the relationship is that you're a hell of a guy and you have a good.
All right, I'll give it to you. I mean, and once again, I'm not on one side or the other. I definitely agree with you guys. I think you need both. I think I could do a lot better job on the branding side. I'm talking about those very early, crawling before you walk kind of steps whatever, in my opinion. So I'm like, unless it's making some money, I don't really care about if it has a logo.
Right. I would say to you, Billy, my take on that is so many people start out and they're going to make this perfect brand or perfect logo, and they have no idea what their business is even going to be about. So I 100% agree with that. I think people falter there. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, like, I think it just kind of circles back to the point we made earlier, right? That those things should go hand in hand. It shouldn't be a binary choice. It shouldn't be one or the other. They should go hand in hand. Like in an ideal world, those things coexist and they benefit, they support and benefit each other through, like, in the growth of the business, right? The branding supports sales supports better brand reputation, right? That it's a mutually beneficial relationship between branding and the growth of the organization, or it should be, right? That's again, in an ideal world, right? Which we don't live in, but I think making them both a priority is a good way to go about it, rather than one at the sake of the other or one versus the other. But that leads us to one, I think everybody's sort of universally favorite times of the day here and Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. And that's show and tell with Dom. So Dom, what do you have to show and tell us about today, my friend? All
right. Today, I'm going to show everybody something that we all love, universally loved. And I wonder what it is that makes it so universally loved. And one, I love memorabilia. So this is from my home team. But so are you ready for this? This is from my home team. But when each of you, I would bet everybody in this room has had one of these at some point. And it was filled with ice cream. Why? This is a little plastic helmet from the Pittsburgh Pirates that I have saved. Why is ice cream out of this helmet so loved? Why do we all have it? Why could you put anything on this and it works? So I have kept this. I look at it, it makes me smile. It's simple and basic. You get it and it makes you smile. Tom, this is my show and tell today. A plastic cap for ice cream, but why do we love it so much?
I mean, I don't know. It's cute. It sits on a shelf. Well, it's super not practical, right? Like it is devoid of practicality, right? There is no, like, it's not even really a good ice cream bowl, right? Because it doesn't really sit well on anything. If it doesn't have, like, when you get down to the bottom of the ice cream, it easily tips over, like when it doesn't have the weight in the bottom of it, right? And then what are you going to do with it? Right? It's kind of a mess to deal with at the stadium because you end up with this like sticky little plastic helmet that's full of ice cream goo, right? That you have to take home and wash and, like, in order to put it on yourself. So it sort of defies logic and reason because it's kind of a pain in the butt to deal with and it's totally impractical. But I agree with you. Everybody's had one at some point in their life and everybody loves them, right? Like if you've ever gone to a baseball type a baseball game, and gotten one of those, then you know what I'm talking about. Like if you're a fan of baseball or have ever been to a baseball game, like there you go, right? So yeah, it's a I don't know. It kind of defies logic, but yeah. And to answer your question, Tara, I don't carry wipes, but undoubtedly wherever I go with the baby. When we have the baby, I will be carrying wipes, but I'm not going to start now. I'm not going to just start carrying around a package of wipes yet. We'll wait until there's actually a reason to have them with me, and then I will. We'll have them in the bag, I promise. But yeah, that's what I think, Dom. about
okay,
about
good. And Tara answered networking earlier to a question on sorry, Tom, I cut you off. Tara, we're going to get to you in a second, but what was the networking in answer to, just so it's hanging out there in one of the comments, and I wanted to be sure that we, where does that go in the conversation? She's got to take her mic off, but okay, we'll get back to you. Go on, Tom.
Oh, she said personal marketing.
Okay, personal marketing, networking, good. Okay,
Yeah.
Billy was networking when he made that connection. Okay, go on, Tom. Where are we at now?
She's got her kids in the background, so that's why she didn't unmute herself. She said.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, so I think so next up, so we've been talking about this brand building, right? And I think the conversation with Billy brings up an interesting point, right? Is that brands aren't just companies, right? But brands, there is such a thing as a personal brand, and whether you own your own company or you work for someone else, you do kind of have a bit of a personal brand because you're going to network with people, you're going to interact with other people in the course of doing business, right? You're going to represent yourself, you're going to represent your company, you want to develop a reputation, right? Like those are all things that go along with brand building. So I think personal brand is a real thing. And so, I go to our next friend here, Jason. Jason, what do you think about personal branding? Do you think it's important?
Yeah, I think it's very important. The hard part is clarifying and narrowing it down as you move along in life. Whether you're a doctor, a policeman, an attorney, or a secretary, that is what you do, right? And what you do and what you process for others represents a brand. Just like Nike sells shoes, but they also sell hats, shirts. But they got their biggest chunk of funding. The brand is, like, to me, like a tree, and from the tree, it's like it's got roots, it's got an idea, it's got a CEO, it's got somebody who decided, say, hey, I want to solve this problem of athletic shoes, as an example. And from that, I'm going to grow other things. So whose needs do I supply to? And how did Nike get so big? Well, as history has shown, Nike got big after it sponsored Michael Jordan in a simple design of a shoe that made people feel that they had to have that so they could fly in the air, dunk, whatever. Kids of all walks and even adults made a culture. So when they made like the Nike shoe culture, that's an extension of the brand. So personal branding to a brand of a company is very important because it's representing what you do and who you are. People are less interested in who you are until you show what you're really doing for them. So people always ask that question, in their minds, like, what's in it for me when I look at him? It's just like, if you were to look at my brand, my brand is in my name now, no longer 72 the Architect. It's Jason Barajas. That's my personal brand. But my company brand, for example, is Man-to-Man Voices and Stories. What problem do I solve? There are many men who have stories of failures and success and how to help men achieve in their own personal lives who do not have their needs met. So throughout the process, your personal brand comes from a concept of what you can do and then what you will do. So hopefully I'm answering your question right. I'm figuring mine out, and it's been a long process, and I'm working with a great designer to help me get to that point.
Appreciate that, Jason. And yeah, I mean, no, 100%. You answered the question, right? Because the question was about your opinion about personal branding, and that's what you shared. So appreciate your thoughts, man. Appreciate your thoughts. Tara, let us know. You can throw something in the comments, whether or not you can talk, or if your kiddos are being too loud in the background. Just let us know. It's all good either way. No pressure, but I would throw the same question to you. Do you think a personal brand is important? If you can talk, and if not, just let me know, and then we're all good. And we'll give you a countdown. And if you don't turn your mic on, then I'll take that as you're not.
3, 2, 3, 2, 1, and there's a new comment that showed up.
She said, "Can't LOL." So there you go.
That's the one thing about. So we do this on Clubhouse. We stream it multiple places: YouTube, LinkedIn. Some people come and are able to ask a question. Some people hop in the room and give a thought on things. We appreciate it. It makes the conversation move. But if you can't ever come up on stage, or if you can't comment, or hey, no worries. We appreciate you being here. So thank you very much. And on that note, this is when I'm done talking. My thing says 56:49. So Tom, what do you got for us today? Put a bow on it, my friend.
All right, I will do. So I'm gonna go back to Julie's question about a couple of big brands, right? And I don't remember exactly the one she listed off, so I'll just list off a couple of brands, right? We got a couple of big household names, right? Apple, Amazon, right? Disney. When you think of brands like those, right? Even when I just say the brand name out loud, Nike, right? Any of those brands, when I say those names out loud, if I were to ask you, when I say Apple, how do you feel talking about the brand? You would be able to articulate a response to that. When I say Amazon, how do you feel? You'd be able to articulate a response to that, right? And the same for Disney, the same for Nike, right? You'd be able to articulate a response to the question, how do you feel about each of those brands? And I would argue that that is the essence of good branding, right? That branding is at its core about giving people and creating the opportunity for people to feel, hopefully positively, right, about your business, your organization, right? To tie emotion and an emotional response to the products and services that you sell. That's what good branding does, is it makes people feel a certain way. And I'll take Disney as an example, right? When you hear that, like, Wish Upon a Star, right? Little musical section that they play with the logo when you see the castle with the shooting star, right? That little Wish Upon a Star riff that they play, like, instantly, like, I would bet money that a lot of people in sort of probably our generation, a little bit older, and definitely younger too, get a little smile on their face, right? There's a positive emotional response associated with the brand of Disney, right? That's very much on purpose, and it's a result of good branding on their part. So what I would encourage everyone to take away from this conversation is that branding can mean a lot of different things, right? It can be everything from personal branding and networking, right? Marketing your personal brand, face to face. I mean, networking is called network marketing as well, right? So it can be that, it can be content creation online, it can be a logo, it can be a sound logo, it can be a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, your branding should seek to do two things, I think, right? Create a positive emotional reaction for your ideal audience, right? For your community that you want to serve. And two, to help leverage that positive emotional response from, or that you've created in the community that you want to serve, into increased sales and revenue for your business, right? That's what branding is ultimately all about, I believe. I could be wrong. Again, I'm just some knucklehead who makes videos, but that's what I think anyway. So I want to end it here. I appreciate all you guys being here with us today. We've hit an hour, and now it's time to say au revoir or adieu or good night or whatever you want to say, even though it's 10:30 in the morning. So want to thank everybody for being here. Really appreciate you guys very, very much. Whether you're here on Clubhouse with us, joined us on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, we really appreciate you. You guys are the reason why Dom and I created Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, why we show up every Wednesday morning to do this with you and for you. So thank you for being a part of the community. We appreciate you. And we hope to welcome more of you in the future. So tell your friends, tell everybody you know. If you get some value out of this, please share it. We'd love to have more people come in so that Dom and I can continue to not be the smartest guys in the room. Until next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m., I'm Tom for Dom. We love you guys. We'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.